You wake up in New York City on the 2nd of January, 1929. You own nothing. No job, no family, no name anyone recognizes. Just $10,000 folded into your coat pocket. But you know something that no banker on Wall Street knows. In 8 months, this market will die. For everyone around you, 1929 is the beginning of forever. For you, it is a countdown. The Dow Jones sits near 300 points. It has tripled in 5 years. Shoeshine boys are handing out stock tips. Taxi drivers are buying shares on credit. A man can put down $10 and control $100 of stock. That is called margin. It means your broker lends you the other 90. It multiplies your gains by 10. It also multiplies your losses by 10. Almost everyone in this city is using it. Almost all of them will be destroyed by it. So what do you do first? Here is your first decision. You could sit safely in cash and simply wait for the crash. Safe, patient, and wrong. Because margin only kills people who do not know the date. You know the date? September the 3rd, 1929. That is the exact day this market peaks. So you do the thing that terrifies everyone in the future and thrills everyone in this room. You borrow. You walk into a brokerage house on Broad Street. $10,000 down, $90,000 borrowed. You control $100,000 of American industry. Radio, steel, autos, utilities. The broker smiles. He thinks you are like everyone else. You are not. Every man on this floor is buying to hold forever. You are buying with an expiration date written in your head. The market climbs. February, March, April. Radio Corporation of America is the miracle stock of the decade. The technology company of its day, soaring past $500 a share. Your paper wealth swells. The newspapers call it a new era. Economists announce that stocks have reached a permanently high plateau. You say nothing, you just watch the calendar. August arrives. Your position is up roughly 27%. On $100,000 of exposure, that is $27,000 of profit. Minus the brutal interest the brokers charge on call loans, you are still sitting on about $35,000, 3.5 times your money in 8 months. Now comes the hardest thing you will ever do. You have to stop. September the 3rd, 1929. The Dow closes at 381.17. The highest number in human history to that point. The city is euphoric. And you sell everything, every share. You walk out of that brokerage with your money and your loan repaid. And the broker asks if you have lost your nerve. You tell him you have found it. 2 days later, a man named Roger Babson stands at a business conference and says plainly that a crash is coming. The market drops 3% in an afternoon. The papers mock him. Wall Street laughs him off as a doom merchant. You are the only person in America who knows he is right. And you are not finished yet. Because now you make the move that separates a survivor from a legend. You short the market. Shorting means you borrow shares you do not own, sell them today, and buy them back cheaper later. If you are wrong, your losses are infinite. If you are right, you get paid for the collapse. Jesse Livermore is doing the same thing right now, somewhere in this city. He will walk away with roughly $100 million. October the 24th. Black Thursday. 13 million shares change hands. Men crowd the sidewalks outside the exchange. October the 28th. Black Monday. The Dow falls almost 13% in a single day. October the 29th. Black Tuesday. Another 12% gone. 16 million shares. Fortunes evaporate in hours. You watch from across the street, you feel no joy. You are watching a country lose its savings in real time. But your short position is printing money with every tick down. By November the 13th, the Dow touches 198, down 48% from the peak in 10 weeks. You cover your shorts. You now hold roughly $70,000 in cash. And here is where nearly everyone gets the next part wrong, because now everyone starts buying. This is the moment the rich men of America step in. John D. Rockefeller himself announces that he and his son are buying shares. The market rallies. The newspapers declare the worst is over. Bargain hunters flood back in. It is the greatest trap in financial history, and you do not touch it, because you know the truth. The crash was not the bottom. The crash was the first step down a staircase that goes on for another 3 years. From here, the Dow will fall another 79%. Anyone who buys this dip loses 4/5 of what is left. So what do you do with $70,000 in a country that is about to break? Not the bank. Never the bank. Between 1930 and 1933, roughly 9,000 American banks will fail. Your deposits are not insured. There is no such thing as deposit insurance yet. Millions of people will watch their life savings vanish behind a locked door with a handwritten sign. So you split your money in two. Half goes into cash and government bonds, held where you can reach it. This feels like doing nothing. It is not. Prices in America are about to fall roughly 25%. That is deflation. When prices fall, every dollar you hold quietly grows more powerful without moving. Doing nothing becomes an investment. The other half goes somewhere almost nobody is looking. Gold. But not the way you think. Here is your first real trap and the future knowledge that saves you. On April the 5th, 1933, the President of the United States will sign Executive Order 6102. Private citizens will be ordered to hand in their gold coin and bullion at $20.67 an ounce. Hoarding gold will become illegal, so you do not buy gold. You buy the companies that dig it out of the ground. Gold mining shares are not confiscated. And in January of 1934, the government will revalue gold from $20.67 to $35 an ounce. Overnight, every ounce a miner pulls from the earth is worth 69% more, while their costs collapse in a depression. You buy homestake mining. Homestake trades near $80 a share in 1929. While America starves, it climbs past $400. Above $500 a share by the mid-1930s, paying enormous dividends the entire way. It is the best performing major stock of the Great Depression. The safest asset in the country turns out to be the one nobody wants. Now you wait. 3 years. This is the hardest chapter of your entire life. Not the crash, the waiting. You watch soup lines form on corners where you once watched stock tickers. Unemployment climbs toward 25%. Radio Corporation of America falls from over $500 a share to under $20. Empires are erased, and you sit still. July the 8th, 1932. The Dow Jones closes at 41.22, down 89% from the peak. 90% of American stock market value has simply ceased to exist. The newspapers are not calling this a bargain. They are calling it the end of capitalism. And that is exactly why it is the greatest buying opportunity of the 20th century. You walk into a nearly empty brokerage house with roughly $150,000. Your cash is worth more than it was. Your gold miners have multiplied. You put all of it into American industry at 41 points. The broker is not smiling now. He asks why. You tell him that the country is not going to disappear. It is just on sale. By March the 10th, 1937, the Dow reaches 194, almost 5 times the bottom. Your $150,000 is now roughly $700,000. And you remember something else. A second's coming. The recession of 1937 will cut the market almost in half again. So you sell again, early again. You buy back in 1938 near 100 points, and then you do the most boring thing imaginable. You hold. Through the war, through the boom, through the suburbs and the highways and the television sets. And on November the 23rd, 1954, the Dow Jones finally closes above 381.17. It has taken 25 years to get back to where you started. 25 years for America, not for you. Your $700,000, compounded through the recovery and the post-war boom with dividends reinvested, is now sitting near $3 million. In 1954 money, adjusted into today's dollars, that is roughly $35 million. From $10,000 and one piece of knowledge. So what actually made you rich? Not the crash. Everyone remembers the crash. The crash was 8 seconds of history that lasted 3 days. The crash was the easy part. What made you rich was the 3 years afterward, when you sat completely still while the smartest men in America bought the dip and lost everything. Your edge was not timing. Your edge was patience. And that is the part that should bother you, because you already believe you would have shorted 1929. Everyone believes that. Ask yourself the harder question instead. Would you have waited 3 years, watching your neighbors starve, holding cash while every headline screamed that stocks were finished forever? The market you are living in right now will crash. Not maybe, will. It always has. And when it does, the money will not go to the people who saw it coming. It will go to the small number of people who could sit still afterward, when sitting still felt like cowardice. That is not a strategy problem. That is a character problem. You wake up in New York City today. You own something. You have a job, a family, a name. And you already know that this market will fall exactly the way it fell in 1929. For everyone around you, that is a disaster waiting to happen. For you, it is a countdown. The only question left is whether you will actually be able to wait.